All right, welcome back to the Onebar and Lupagus show. I'm Onebar with Lupagus. We got Jesse from Last Second Sports, familiar face. We're going to talk some Vikings, Niners, maybe shock the world. Maybe we'll get our asses kicked, but Jesse's going to give us the whole scoop. Links will be down in the description to hit him up. You're almost at like 25,000 subs.
Wow.
Yeah, man, it's been a great offseason. The Super Bowl loss, believe it or not, man, that video went crazy. For whatever reason, I don't know what it was, but in March, every Chiefs fan was coming to watch me cry on camera, essentially. I didn't really cry, but they were there to just pick up all my tears. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a video that was already doing well at like 25,000 ended up at 70,000 views, and a bunch of Chiefs fans subscribed to me. They're like, I love this guy. He's great. So,
Yeah,
it was awesome. Man. I'll take it. But dang, man, it was not for the reasons I wanted.
Hey, I don't want to put salt in the wound or anything, but I'm just curious, like, what's it like to watch your team be in a Super Bowl and then to lose one in overtime? Like, I mean, what emotions are going through?
Dude,
you're really pouring the salt.
No, I want to know.
All right, guys, it's been fun, man. Thanks for having me. No, it was oh man. I knew it was going to happen. As soon as we went to overtime and we didn't score a touchdown on the drive, I looked at my wife and she goes, "Oh, that's great. You guys are up." And I go, No, it's not, because Patrick Mahomes now has 4 downs. There's 0% chance we're winning this game. And then to watch it happen, it was like a train wreck. It was awful. It was awful, man. It was awful. I had very few times do I come to a post game with no words, and I had almost no words to start that show. It was bad. It sucked.
Well, so, I mean, it's not mixed with a sense of pride that you got that far and you're the MC champion.
No.
Niners,
listen,
they're greedy. They're greedy. They want to win.
That's it, man, and that's where we're at. This is the 3rd Super Bowl loss in the last 12 years. It's time. It's time to break through. It's, and as a fan of the 49ers that was lucky enough to be very alive and aware of the last Super Bowl victory and grow up when this team was at its best, when they weren't losing Super Bowls, to now lose 3. It's Super Bowl or bust. If they don't win, I'm not happy with the season. That's where I'm at with it.
Well, I got to give you a quick round of applause. Thank you for beating the Packers, allowing them not, because there was nothing more beautiful than you guys beating them. So thank you. Thank you. We owe you.
Multiple times, too.
If we get them in the playoffs, we're going to win the game. That's almost a given. So any chance, man. It
was like, honestly, at that point, like them almost going to the Super, like it was like watching the Vikings. Like I was pretending the Niners were that's how bad the Packers need. It was wonderful. So thank you.
I love rivalries, man. That's great.
All right, well, let's hop into this game this week. Let's start with Jordan Mason. He went lights out last week, ran for 147 yards and a touchdown. Where the hell did this guy come from? How did he do it? And why was he so good?
Is he going to do it against us?
Yeah. I don't know if he'll do it against you. CMC is really trying to play here. And but if Mason plays, I think he's going to have a fantastic game. It's interesting that Mason had this coming out party, and I'm so happy for him because we've been talking about him this is now the 3rd year. We've been very excited about him. And for us, we've been like, this guy runs like Marshawn Lynch. He's bow-legged like Marshawn Lynch. He wears 24 like Marshawn Lynch. He's got the dreads. Stature-wise, they're almost identical. He's very much Marshawn Lynch, and we saw this coming from a mile away. We knew he was a very good player. Now he had about, I think it was like 83 carries in his career coming up to this game, but he averaged 5.6 yards a carry. So we knew that there was something good there. But the reason he wasn't able to get on the field last year is because he wasn't great in blocking and he didn't know his route assignments. He would often run the wrong route. He didn't have great hands. This offseason, he bought a jugs machine, worked on his hands, worked on his route running, worked on his blitz pickups, and all of it came to a culmination of Monday Night Football in front of the world. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing. But we, as Niner fans, knew that he had this in him. We really did.
When McCaffrey comes back, does he just take a back seat? Party's over, or are they going to mix him in a little bit?
Yeah, we've been hoping that he would get mixed in last year a lot because McCaffrey had over 400 touches total. I think it was like 417 or 412. he touched the ball a ton. And we were all saying, listen, man, like ease up a little bit. He's going to be 28. We don't want him to be injured. Sure enough, here we are. He's got lingering tendonitis that started last year before the playoffs. He had all off season and it's here again. We're worried that he's going to tear his Achilles. And we're even more worried that when he comes back, that Shanahan's just going to run him into the ground the way that he always has. So the hope is if we can get Mason 10 to 12 touches a game when McCaffrey's here, that would be a beautiful, beautiful thing. Let him go finish these games off because he is such a tough runner. You give him the fourth quarter with a lead, it's like just let him in the game. He can do that.
All right, Niners stacked. NFC. I mean, they should run the table in the NFC. That's everybody's projecting it. I mean, in my mind, if they don't win a Super Bowl, you're going to be disappointed. But what's your kryptonite? Where do they suck? Where are the Vikings going to potentially take some advantage here?
Kryptonite is Patrick Mahomes. Is he on the Vikings?
Oh, we got Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Sam
so he is even better. He is on the Vikings. Well, how? Listen, I don't know if you know this, but last year, the article that we all joke about is Sam Darnold was being compared to Steve Young. We all had a great laugh about it, but that was a real thing. That was a real thing. And Shanahan compared. I was like, I mean, it's just as like when Joe Montana was here. I mean, Brock Purdy's our Joe Montana, and now we got our Steve Young and Sam Darnold. Like, oh, really? Okay. So you may not have Patrick Mahomes, but you do have Steve Young.
Hell yeah.
Listen, the kryptonite to this year's team, it's still similar to what it's been. If you can generate a good interior pass rush, the interior of this offensive line is not great, although it is upgraded. I think Dominic Pooney coming in, starting at right guard, that's an upgrade. He was a rookie. He wasn't supposed to start, but he had injuries in the two guys that were ahead of him at right guard. They both got injured in camp. He came in, clearly was the best guy. He's kept his job, and deservedly so. So that's an upgrade. But I think center, left guard, that's a question mark. And then I know it looked good last week, but this week I want to see it again because Aaron Jones is a different type of runner and Minnesota runs a different scheme. I'm still curious if the 49ers can consistently stop the run. Now, last year, if you look at the numbers in the Minnesota game, it doesn't look like Minnesota ran the ball well, but you guys remember that game. There were times where Minnesota was able to do what they wanted in the running game early in that game and to be able to set the tone, and Kirk Cousins was able to use play action and use that for the rest of the game, and it worked. In teams last year that were able to stay with the 49ers and continue to run the ball, there was multiple times they showed vulnerability. Without Greenlaw, Hufanga may not play again, and Eric Armstead was replaced this year. Not that I'm worried that they can't stop the run, but last week, even though they were able to, I want to see it again. Show me again you can do it, and then I'll believe. So I am curious about that.
It's going to be a hell of a test. You guys shut down Aaron Jones and Breece Hall back-to-back. You should be sold, man.
I will be, yes, absolutely.
Well, partner shutting down the running game is your new defensive coordinator, Nick Sorensen. What were your initial impressions of the first game he called? And maybe what should we expect as Vikings fans from this 49ers defense that's different from last year when we faced you guys and beat you?
Yeah, Nick Sorensen, he did a fantastic job last week. It's interesting because the 49ers have had some really good defensive coordinators, Robert Saleh, D'Amico Ryans. Both of them, early stints in their career, 49er fans wanted them out because they just weren't producing, and it took them a while to get going. Well, with Sorensen, it didn't. But I think what helped Sorensen is Staley came in from the Chargers. Now, Staley wasn't a great head coach by any means, but he did do some really good things as defensive coordinator for the Rams. Now, he's kind of your Fangio guy. And then we've got Sorensen, who's more of like the Seattle cover 3, cover 4 type of guy. And what they've done is they've kind of married these systems together. So what I've seen a lot is you'll see Bosa standing up, which is different. You'll see a lot of simulated pressures, which is not something that we normally do. We're not going to strictly run the wide 9 the way that we used to. You're going to see some interchanging going on with this defense. They'll maybe play some more man coverage than what you're normally used to. So it's a little bit of a hybrid. I think you'll see that this week. I still think that the guts of this defense is cover 3, cover 4, mix of cover 6. But some of the simulated pressures, some of the exotic blitzes, that's what you're going to see a little bit more because of Sorensen and Staley and his packages, and Sorensen out there calling the plays.
Sorensen gonna follow the path of your other boys? Is he gonna be a head coach in this league
real soon?
Man, it seems to be, if you coach a defense here, unless you're Steve Wilkes, who got fired, that you do eventually get a head coaching job. So yeah, why not, man? If that's what he wants to be, I think he's going to do a fine job here. So sure.
All right. I want complete honesty. So Vikings are not getting any love. And you know what? That's fair. That's fair until they prove. But like yourself, Niners fan, I mean, what's your take on the Vikings? Are we like the Giants? Are we the Panthers? Like, where are you guys throwing us as far as? I mean, is this like are you going into this like we're gonna kick the shit out of them? I want to know your thoughts on the Vikings.
I'm really not. And in fact, I look at the Vikings. Everybody's high on the Chicago Bears in this division. Listen, a lot of talent. Caleb Williams was completely unproven. What he did last week is not a surprise to me. I mean, I know a lot of people were shocked by it, but it's like, this is a rookie quarterback who has this in him. He wasn't the most accurate in preseason. In college, he tried to play hero ball. That's not going to work at the NFL level. He's going to have to change his game a little bit. I'm not sold on the Bears being better than the Vikings. I think the Vikings can be, well, now with the Love injury, they might be the second best team in this division just by happenstance. But no, I don't think the Vikings are a pushover, especially at home. Listen, we haven't won there since I think 92, something crazy like that. Now, that may only be 8 to 10 games between now and then, but that's a good sample size. Last year, I was confident because the 49ers were coming off of a loss. I was wrong to be confident. So the last thing I'm going to do is just come in here arrogant as if the 49ers are going to run through them, because I don't see that happening. I really respect both coaches here for the Vikings. I think you got a great head coach / offensive play caller or offensive mind. You've got a great defensive coordinator in Flores, who is insane with how almost disrespectful he can be. He's just like, you know what? We don't care. We are going to blitz you and blitz you and blitz you until you can't take it anymore. And then when you think we're going to blitz, we're going to drop everybody in coverage and you're going to throw a bad pick like Brock Purdy did last year. So Flores is amazing. He really took a defense that had no business being near the top 10 last year with that personnel. He got him there or close to it. This year, there's a lot of upgrades. I think that the Minnesota Vikings are going to be in a lot of games that they may not deserve to be in on paper because the defense is great and they can run the ball. So I definitely respect what they have going.
I'm getting fired up, man. I'm getting fired up. I want it to be Sunday. I want it to be Sunday right freaking now.
I'm going to go do some push-ups right now. So last year when we played, Justin Jefferson was out. What's your opinions of Justin Jefferson? And what do you think the Niners can do to try to contain him?
Well, the nice thing is that Addison's going to be out, you know, and obviously Hawkinson's out as well. So that's helpful. Maybe they'll try to bracket coverage him the best they can. And I think they have the corners that they can kind of go one-on-one with everybody else. But Justin Jefferson's just going to get his. You're going to have to deal with that. He's probably going to get in the end zone. He's probably going to put up 100 yards. It is what it is. That's just what he does on a regular basis. He's the best receiver in the game right now. He's going to do his thing, and that's okay. But it's just everybody else. You got to contain everybody else, starting with Aaron Jones and then working out to the outside and Naylor and Munt and whoever else is going to be out there. That's the key to the game. But Jefferson's going to do his thing. It's just what he does, man. He's the best.
All right, we got to talk Sam Darnold. You guys were blessed with his presence last year. You're welcome.
Steve Young, man. Yeah.
Like what's your so Lupagus, Jesse and I just went live on his show, and it's funny because we talked a lot of Sam Darnold and it was beautiful. So everybody go watch that. It was fantastic. But I want your thoughts on what you actually think he's going to do this season. Like realistically, what is he going to do this season? As far as, is it by the end of the season is just going to be like, all right, Sam Darnold, or is he going to exceed expectations with the weapons around him? Like, what's your thought on Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I think Sam Darnold, here's the problem, is quarterback play across the NFL is just not very good. And that's why guys like Sam Darnold get chance after chance after chance after chance. I think ideally Sam Darnold's a really good backup. But in this league, he might prove to be a low-level starter and get paid somewhere else to continue to be a bridge quarterback. because I don't think it'll be here. I think you guys are going to turn the reins over to McCarthy next year, or at least you should. And it sucks that he's out already. So, but Sam Darnold, I could see a scenario where he throws 30 touchdowns, 15 to 20 turnovers. I think he can have a pretty decent season. Maybe not quite to the level that Baker had last year. I don't know that Minnesota will make the playoffs, but I think he can play pretty decent here. I do. He's not but the talent's never been the question with Sam Darnold. Never been the question. It's, can you not be a bonehead and turn the ball over? He was a turnover machine in college. He's been a turnover machine everywhere else he goes. And even in a good game against a bad team last week, he found a way to turn the ball over. Can you go a game without a turnover? That's the biggest question I have with Sam Darnold.
Lupagus, it was funny when he first started talking about Sam Darnold during the live. He started it by saying he's a fine gentleman.
He's a fine gentleman.
Which I knew right afterwards. The fact he gave him that beautiful compliment of a fine gentleman, he was going to tear him apart, which he did. Okay. Not tear him apart, but brought us back to earth a little bit on Sam.
Well, I love it. I'll give you the bold prediction just to be fair, because I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth. I said I can see a scenario where that happens. I'm not necessarily predicting that to happen, by the way. My bold prediction this week was however many touchdowns Sam Darnold accounts for, whether that's passing or running, he'll have twice the amount of turnovers. So if he has 2 touchdowns, he'll have 4 turnovers. If he has 1 touchdown, he'll have 2. He finds a way to turn the ball over. I mean, this guy has, I think going into last year, he had something like 93 fumbles. Now, it's not obviously not all those are lost. He only lost a fraction of those. It was 93 potential turnovers with fumbles included. Now, a lot of those were fumbles that were recovered, but man, whether it's fumbling a snap, he just finds a way to turn the ball over, and he's got to get over that if he's ever going to be taken seriously as a starter. So we'll see.
All right. Well, I think you kind of already touched on this one, but let's just solidify it. Most concerning thing with the Vikings is it the defense, Brian Flores' scheme. I mean, you kind of hinted at that earlier.
Oh, I think it's a close tie between that and then Aaron Jones. I mean, listen, Jones gashes the 49ers. He does every time they play the Packers. Last year, they almost upset the 49ers in the divisional round, in large part because Aaron Jones broke off like a 60-something yarder, put them in field goal range. Now, luckily, their field goal kicker was awful, and the 49ers were able to capitalize. But Aaron Jones did whatever he wanted that game. He was unstoppable. So Aaron Jones worries me. He really does. That's why I said, listen, I love Breece Hall. I think is the second best running back in the league, arguably, and I love that they stopped him. But schemes, players, matchups, everything is different this week. Aaron Jones is a fine player, and this scheme I think can manufacture yards. So I could see a scenario where Aaron Jones saves Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold only has to throw the ball 15 times, and he's fine in that scenario potentially. So there you go.
Nice. So obviously the team we love beating the most, you already know it's the Packers. Who's your team? Who do you just love sticking to? I mean, the Seahawks. I mean, what do you got?
It's interesting because growing up as a 49er fan in the 90s, it was always Dallas. I can't stand them. But now it's like there's no real rivalry because they can't beat the 49ers. So it's like, I don't really care to them.
It must be rough.
And then the Seahawks, obviously the Legion of Boom days, man. I absolutely hated their guts. I don't know that I just have this visceral hate for a team the way that I did growing up, but a fan base that I hate is still Seattle. I grew up in the Northwest, and Seattle fans were non-existent for my whole life. And then all of a sudden the Legion of Boom comes around. I was like, oh, look at all the Seattle jerseys with the carbon fiber numbers. That came out of nowhere. And their fans, every time I went to a game, were absolutely atrocious. So you know what? Usually what I do is I root for fan bases. So when I see a team like the Lions or the Browns and they just have heartache, I root for those fan bases to have something good happen to them. Seattle fans, I hope nothing good happens to you when it comes to your football team. I hope they lose every single week. So, yeah, I'll go with the Seahawks.
Well, it sounds like the Lions are becoming the Seahawks fans. That's what's happening there in Detroit.
There you go.
They're awful.
There you go.
I love it.
Season.
And I hope your goldfish dies, too, Seattle fans.
They always die.
Awful.
They always die.
Yeah, exactly.
All
flush
right.
down the toilet and say goodbye to them.
Yeah, as they're still alive, you just get sick of them. That's what I do. All right. So final 49ers, like you said, with 32 years, something like that. We got like a 7-8 game winning streak at home. You don't got to give a score prediction by any means, but do the Niners break the streak? Is it over? Do they get the dub on Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not going to go against the Niners week 2, a team that has to win a Super Bowl this year. Like, it's the last year that they can really make this run on paper. So, yeah, I have to go with a team that's on a mission to finally break through. But again, last year, the 49ers had just lost to Cleveland. They had started the season so hot. There was no way they were going to lose 2 games in a row, right? To the Minnesota Vikings, of all teams, who had just lost Justin Jefferson. 0 chance. Well, it wasn't 0 chance, and the Vikings won. So I have a healthy respect for the Vikings. If they won, would it be an absolute shock? No, it wouldn't be. But if I'm putting a percentage on it, I'll go 80-20 49ers, but 20%'s a big number, man. It really is in this league.
I'll take 20% any day. Any day.
Last year's 0.
Yeah, last year was like 1% chance.
There's no way in hell we're
losing. Yeah, I was probably at like a 5% maybe last year, if that. You're right. And I was wrong. So there it is.
All right, Jesse, last second sports. Get over, give him a sub. Let's get this man over 25,000 subs. Yeah. Give him a little crap in the comments. If we shock the world on Sunday, get your butts over there. Let them know. Jesse, you're one of my favorites when it comes to
he's a fine gentleman is what he is.
He's a fine gentleman. He is a fine gentleman. And we appreciate the hell out of you, man.
That's a callback right there, man. That was fantastic. Really good job by you.
Thanks for coming on, man. Good luck on Sunday. We'll need it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Thank you, guys.